gosh, look at the crowd.
Come this way.
Those who spread goodness radiate happiness to everyone around them. Introducing LOLC Finance Credit Cards. Fuel the goodness in you.
Welcome to LMDtv. This week on Talking Business, Anushan Selvarajah speaks with HR professional Chandi Dharmaratne.
Welcome to LMDtv, Chandi. Good to have you with us.
Thank you, Anushan, for inviting me.
Just to get the ball rolling, Chandi, what is this generational workforce that everyone's talking about?
Okay, that's basically, Anushan, when there are multiple generations working in the global workforce. So we have about 4 generations in the workforce right now. We have the generation X, born from about 1965 to about 1980. And that consists of about 35% of the workforce, global workforce. And then we have the generation Y, or we call them millennials and multiple other names as well. Those millennials are born between 1980 to about 2000. So that consists of about another 35%. And then we have the baby boomers, born from about 1946 to about 1964. And that's about 6% of the workforce. And then we have the generation Z, born after 2000, and that consists already about 24% of the global workforce. So these are the 4 main generations that are in our global workforce.
What are the pertinent facts that we need to know about this generational workforce?
So it's important for us to understand what their job priorities are. For example, if you look at millennials, they are looking for companies with more purposeful mission for them to work in. Versus if you take the generation Z, they are looking for more emotional connect and also more training and on-the-job development that they want to have when they get into a job. So, so what inspires different generations might be different. And if you look at even from a LinkedIn survey, we understood the fact how and why employees in different generations actually leave their job. So if you look at millennials, they are looking for mainly compensation and benefit, and they will leave a job looking for that. And if you look at generation Xers, they leave their job mainly for them to have more challenge in what they're doing. So when you understand these differences, it helps us to bring in our engagement strategies or development strategies, onboarding, recruitment, in order to cater to these different generations, so we can attract them and retain them and maximize their potential when they come into organizations. But I also have to bring in the point that these differences are sometimes a little bit overstated, and there are a lot of similarities that they have which tend to be a little bit underplayed. So there are a lot of similarities. For example, if you take all the generations, one thing that drives all of them to stay in an organization is their inspirational colleagues that they have in their company, or how the company has a very purposeful mission. So these are reasons, or if you bring in engagement initiatives and this purpose or this inspiration across your culture, then you have any generation that gets attracted to that. And hence, a very good engagement strategy can be built around that.
Chandi, why is Gen Z different, and also why are they deemed important?
Okay, so Generation Z is important because of the numbers mainly. So if you look at the beginning, I said how even 24% of the workforce is already consisting of the Gen Zs. And if you look at if you take a look at the US population, you have 86 million or 84 million already consisting of this Gen Z population. And then so hence they have a huge impact in the buying power. And then they have a huge impact in the decision-making power, because they are actually telling their parents what to buy and what they should be spending on. So hence we can't ignore, even if you have a service or a product that you want to bring into the market, you can't ignore what makes a Gen Z come and get that service or product. You need to understand what motivates them. And in an organization, looking at the numbers who are in the workforce, it also makes sense for us to know that customer, that consumer is looking for a certain requirement as a Gen Z is now our employee. So if it's an emotional connect that they're looking for, it makes sense for us to make sure that we provide it to them because the numbers are going to be really large in the future.
How then can organizations engage with this generation?
So Generation Z is based on some of the experience that we have with Gen Z, that are in our companies, and also some of the research that has been done. All generations go on online activity and digital platforms, but they say that when Gen Zs go into these online activities, they are looking for mainly entertainment, and also on accessing more instant gratification when they go into it, versus other generations are looking for more utility or information that they want to acquire. So if we are to come up with an engagement strategy around Gen Zs, it's really important that we build these around how we can emotionally connect with them. So there's an HBR study that was done, and they said how a credit card company used emotional connect with their customer and their credit card, and how the sales of their credit card actually increased by 70% as a result of that within the Gen Zs.
Now we're moving into this new era of sorts, Chandi. Would you agree with those that say that new jobs are being created at a fast rate?
Yeah, of course, definitely. I think any industry is dynamic, and to stay ahead of the global competition and to embrace the new market that they need to constantly go and get into, they need to keep innovating themselves and creating new opportunities for themselves. And as a result of that, a lot of jobs, a lot of new requirements are coming in. So the important thing is for an organization much more efficient to be able to build that kind of talent internally by cross-skilling and reskilling them and hiring the people that you can do that with, and building them internally and be able to rotate them into those new opportunities that do come. It's much faster and much more efficient than actually hiring them as a lateral hire from the market. For example, ING Bank in Australia, there was an article that I was reading how they have currently have 30 customer journey experts that they recently put out to their consumers. And 2 years ago, they actually didn't even have that position in their organization. They built them internally, and they realized how much value that role can create in order to give a better experience to their customers.
We'll go in for a short break now.
Our story is one of reimagining. Reimagining who you can be, what you can achieve, and how SEMA can support you. As technology and digital platforms disrupt businesses, we are reimagining what the profession can be. We've updated our syllabus to meet the expectation of employers, ensuring SEMA-qualified professionals have the skills to make an impact from day one. Reimagine your career. Contact SEMA Sri Lanka.
Welcome back to the show as we continue our discussion with a HR professional from the IT sector, Chandi Dharmaratne. Now, in a recent interview with us on the show, Shanika Ratnayaka from Great Places to Work said that inclusivity is not just tied to gender. Would you agree with this?
Definitely, yes.
The reason we're saying this is because there are a lot of people who lose out on job opportunities mainly on their race or religion or sexuality and such, and we seem to be missing out on a large spectrum of the workforce.
Yes, definitely. I think it's not just a Sri Lanka thing. I think it's a global initiative to build in inclusivity in our organizations. So I totally agree with Shanika that inclusivity is not just about making sure gender inclusivity. If you take the IT industry, for example, we have a concept called the bench. So say we get a project from one of our top global companies in the world, and we need to be able to quickly staff and deliver and tell them, yes, we have the right pyramid in order to deliver that project to you. And when we're trying to do that, if we don't have the right talent on the bench that is ready to be deployed, we can't get that project to Sri Lanka. Same way, if Sri Lanka or any other country or as a world in general, we don't have the entire bench ready to be deployed, and we are keeping a certain percentage of the bench as if we don't even want to use them, who's losing out? an organization will lose out, a country will lose out, and as in a world in general, we're losing out some of the best talent who could actually be creating more value in the role that they would be playing in the future.
Chandi, why is it important to build a future-ready workforce?
So, I'll bring in some statistics here just to show how the world is changing. We all know post-COVID, so many things, people call it new norms, and a lot of new things have been implemented in organizations. But I think some organizations found it really easy to move into these new forms and be able to still cater to their global clients or whatever clients that they were working with. And they actually, I think, performed even better in a very dynamic environment and a new norms environment. So if you look at the World Economic Forum report, the Future of Jobs, Future of Work report 2020, it gives you a lot of data points to show how the future is going to be. For example, 65% of kids who are entering primary school will be doing, we don't even know what kind of a job he will be doing in the future, he or she will be doing in the future. And if you look at 50% of the employees will need reskilling by 2025. 40% core skills are going to be changing by 2025. And 94% of business leaders are saying that employees in their organization will have to pick up new skills on the job, while it was only 64% or 65% in 2019. So you can see that the data is moving towards a confirmation that the most important thing for any organization to be future ready is to have an employee pool that is having the right cognitive skills and the right skills and the abilities in order to be able to be agile, to mold themselves into the future requirement and to be reskilled or upskilled based on that.
So how do we go about getting this done here?
I think the realization that it is really important for organizations to have a future-ready talent pool, I think everybody agrees with that. So having a hybridized, digital-based, data-driven, customer-focused talent pool is critical. And lots of organizations have started or have been doing upskilling, reskilling in order to make sure that their internal pool is ready. There's this McKinsey article that kind of summarizes it really well. So they basically talked about how the focus in organizations should be around cognitive, social, and emotional skills. And also skills like resilience and adaptability are fundamental skills, irrespective of the role that any employee is going to be playing in the organization. And they say building an employee pool with that kind of skill set, or investing your training and development or your recruitment models in order to hire that skill set from the market, are called no regret investments. And looking at it from another perspective, Coursera courses increased from March to June by 600%. And that was mainly pulled by organizations and not by individuals, the courses were. And if you look at the courses in 2019, they were mainly technical courses. But if you look at the 2020 courses that the research was taken in during that time period, they were, all top 10 were soft skills. So you can already see companies are focusing on building these cognitive skills in order to make sure that employees are ready and has the agility and the competencies to acquire, to unlearn and to relearn and learn new things in order to be future ready.
Connectivity is key, especially if you want to think of building this future ready workforce. Yet here in the country, we still have children who don't have access to tabs or phones, or even not to mention the data connectivity. We have children climbing water towers to find signal just so that they can follow their online classes here. Isn't it about time that we bridge this gap, especially to get them ready for the future?
Definitely, Anushan, I totally agree with that. And I agree the fact that I think there are lots of children who does not have access to a digital device or access to information in order to even make decisions about their career, or even school information that they're supposed to have during this time period, or even as even to understand what kind of career they want to take. So access to information is power given to them to make decisions about their future, and that cannot be done if we don't have the opportunity for them to go into a digital device and be connected to that information. So it's critical, if we are to get our future generation future ready, that they have access to information, and that obviously is going to happen on a digital platform.
That was extremely insightful. Thank you so much for joining us on the show, Chandi. It was a great pleasure.
Thank you, Anushan.
After a short break, Ashwini Vethakan will bring you a roundup of global news. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the show. I'm Ashwini Vethakan, and here's a roundup of global news. As of this week, the COVID-19 global numbers have exceeded 111 million, with recovered number of patients being a little over 87 million. Meanwhile, Russian authorities say they have detected what is believed to be human infection with avian influenza H5N8. The reported cases were workers exposed to bird flocks, according to preliminary information, the statement added. Russia notified WHO of the possible strain. If confirmed, this would be the first time H5N8 has infected people. In other news, the UK and California variants of the coronavirus appear to have combined into a heavily mutated hybrid, sparking concern that we may be entering a new phase of the COVID-19 pandemic. Two variants of the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus that caused COVID-19 have combined their genomes to form a heavily mutated hybrid version of the virus. The recombination event was discovered in a virus sample in California, provoking warnings that we may be poised to enter a new phase of the pandemic. The much talked about cryptocurrency Bitcoin has continued to hit record highs, having broken through the $50,000 mark. On Sunday, Bitcoin hit another peak, rising over $58,000 as it continues its strong momentum this year. The cryptocurrency has risen more than 90% since the start of January, pushing its total market value above $1 trillion. Asian markets were mixed on Monday as expectations for faster economic growth and inflation globally battered bonds and boosted commodities, while rising real yields were making equity valuations look more stretched in comparison. In other news, American bonds have been bruised by the prospect of a strong economic recovery and yet greater borrowing as President Joe Biden's $1.9 trillion stimulus package progresses. The Chinese government has made an investment in BGI, a listed Chinese company that has supplied millions of COVID-19 tests globally, as the genome sequencing firm seeks to fund exponential growth driven by the pandemic. BGI Group, which runs a massive genome data bank in China and has DNA sequencing contracts with health firms and universities worldwide, has previously responded to claims from US security agencies that it is closely linked to the state by saying it has no Chinese government capital. 7 people were killed when a Nigerian military airplane crashed on approach to the airport serving Abuja on Sunday, a spokesperson for Nigeria's Air Force said. An air marshal tweeted that all 7 personnel on board died in the crash, adding that the chief of the air staff has ordered an immediate investigation into the incident. On Monday, a World Bank report cited that the Palestinians' COVID-19 vaccination plan faces a $30 million funding shortfall. Even after factoring in support from a global vaccine scheme for poorer economies, the report added Israel, a world leader in terms of vaccination speed, should consider donating surplus doses to the Palestinians to help accelerate a vaccine rollout in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. Meanwhile, people in Israel are now one step closer to returning to normalcy as the country's economy began reopening after almost half the population received coronavirus vaccine shots. Most of the country opened for business earlier this week, with shops available to all and access to gyms and theaters limited to those who have been inoculated and others who are immune after recovering from COVID-19. And finally, after months of neglect from traders, oil became a hot commodity again this month as Brent surged over $65 a barrel. And West Texas Intermediate topped $60 for the first time in a year. Oil was recovering steadily even before the United States lost some 40% of its oil production because of the Arctic cold wave that swept across the country. The Texas deep freeze certainly helped it, but its effect is already dwindling as traders take profits. Brent was down to less than $63 on Saturday and WTI slipped below $60 a barrel. Yet a substantial upside potential remains that could increase internal tensions between OPEC Plus members. That's all we have for you this week. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. Thank you for watching and stay safe.